Hey friends, so today we are going to do the details of this kit. We're going to get into the mottling as well as adding life and blood flow, if you will, to the feet and to the palm of the hands. Okay, so as noted on the skin tone card, we are going to be using crimson red, eyelid purple, and possibly dioxazine purple to bring in some details and some lifelike blood flow onto the soles and the palm of the hands, as well as throughout the kit. So if you will, go ahead and pull these colors if you have them, or a color comparable if you are using another line or even airdrop paints. In addition, you will also need mottling sponges such as these, or like these. There's a QR code if you would like to scan this QR code to order these from a Small World Nursery. Or you can do the tried and true version of mottling sponges, which is taking a sponge or any cosmetic wedge and taking tweezers, which I will grab to show you guys. I'll show you how I did this on this particular wedge. You won't go in any particular pattern. Okay, and so you get the gist of it. Just go in and sporadically poke holes and make sure that you also do the edges so that you don't have any harsh lines around the perimeter. So you don't want to necessarily see this sharp edge of your wedge as much as you want to see the mottled edge. So make sure you do that. And you'll also need a brush for application, for taking the paint out of the tray, applying it to your cosmetic wedge or your sponge, and then onto your kit. So my combination of mixture colors to get the perfect resemblance of blood flow is to use half crimson and half eyelid purple, and that gives me this mauve red color that you see here. And I like to use that on the lips, I like to use that on the feet and the palms as well. And then this dioxazine purple that you see here, I'll sometimes mix that with burnt umber or even black to help give me a darker shade if needed, and maybe the darker areas that you will actually see me apply here as we go through the process today. I just want to show you a little bit of how I create this mixture, and that is by taking, like I said, half and half of crimson red, just on paper towel, and then another half of eyelid purple, and then just mixing the two to create this mauve-ish color that you see here in the plate. The combination of these two colors does not exactly replicate like real true blood. It gives me enough of a blushed appearance for the skin tone that we are going for. Okay, so let's add some thinning medium to this mixture. And so it has blended wonderfully. So I will leave that be. And just so you guys know, of course, this palette is used all the time. And when I'm done with it, I just wrap it in cling wrap. So before I brought it into frame, I just took the cling wrap off of it. I'll do the right side in this, and then I'll do the left side with this one, so you can just see if there is any type of difference. So first things first is we are going to take our brush here, and as you notice, I did not make a wash consistency, which is what is normally done whenever you are doing mottling. And that is actually like at the beginning of your process, when you are at the beginning of a kit, when you are wanting to lay down undertones and those layers are added dimension underneath the actual skin tone color. You usually do that with a wash type of consistency. But I'll move these brushes to the side from earlier. But what you're going to be doing in this case is kind of like a stamp, if you will. We're going to be stamping, but we don't want to leave it looking like a stamp. So let's bring in Ariana. And let's apply, I think I might have said this wrong, but we're gonna use this sponge on the right side of the face. In the highlighted areas is my goal. And this is just gonna add some extra dimension to promote more realism as we reach the end of our painting journey or process with Ariana. And then you also want to go over where you previously stamped. And now granted, you don't see this crimson and eyelid purple in a very obvious way, but I promise you the subtlety of it really does add to the overall dimension of the kit. And for some reason, a lot of my neighbors decided to mow their lawns all at the same time. So forgive me if you hear any lawnmowers or weed eaters, because they decided to all give it a go. I guess people are just getting off work and this is the best time for them. So my apologies. Now let's go ahead and take the Small World Nursery sponge and stamp it. And I typically use this one with the wash type consistency. Let's go ahead and stamp. See why I like that finish in comparison to that one, which I've kind of pounced that off, but I just love that finish. Just looks like skin to me. And if you choose to, you can go over the entirety of the kit. I just feel like it's a waste of mixture and supplies if I go over the entirety of the kit, because of the simple fact the head is going to be rooted with hair. It's not a light skin tone, so you won't really see any dimension under the hair. I do want to pounce this back some. Okay, so for the most part, this is it for the application of mottling on the face. Again, as you saw, I went into the highlighted areas. May not seem like a lot to you, but it definitely makes a difference in the eyes of adding realism. And one more thing I'm actually going to do is take a liner brush, and I want to deepen the corners of my eye, which is where the purple comes in. This is a dirty brush, but it's just fine. Just has that brown that we used before on it. I'm going to put some right here in the corner, just to give me a deeper, like pushing that back, if you will. Pushing the corner of the eyes even further back because it's darker. Therefore creating more depth. I'm going to also do this in the nostrils and along the creases of the eyelid. Let me put a splash of Gamsol in here because this has kind of dried up on me. And yes, you will see brown come out of my brush, and it's completely fine because I honestly will mix this with a little bit of burnt umber sometimes anyway. The messiness and the beauty of painting. Okay. So we see we have a little muddy purple there. So we are going to take this and then go into the creases. Go into the creases over here. Kind of went underneath the eye, I didn't mean for that to happen. swipe up as much as I can, but okay. Let's go into the crease of the eyelid. This crease of the eyelid. Guys, I'm so sorry about all the noise. If you even hear it. Go into the most inner part of the eye here. And all this is doing is just enhancing those dark areas. To make them recede even more. Corner of the mouth, right here. And let's go to the ear. Definitely want to get the ear canal itself. And over here as well. Okay. Okay, so before we move on to the actual limbs, I decided to put a little bit around the nose with the purple. And then I'm going to add some to the inside of the mouth, which is probably really hard for you guys to see. But I am going the inside and just dragging that color out. Just dragging it out. Then I'm sure to reach the very roof of the mouth. Perimeter. And then I'll do the same thing on the bottom, going inside and dragging that color out. Dragging that color out. And trying to make sure I get into all of these creases in here as well. Now, one other thing that I'm going to do before we pop this into the oven is I'm going to take some eyelid purple and go into every last crease that I can get into so that I can add in some more dimension. So when we go to add the lip color, it all looks a little bit more realistic. The more dimension that we have, the better. And also, less is more. So if I don't have to go in with so many lip layers, the better. My handy dandy detail palette, if you've been following me for any amount of time, as far as in a series, then you know that this is my, let me find my brush, that this is my detail palette. Okay, so I'm going to dip my brush into this eyelid purple. Let me just cling wrap. Put that over here. Going to go into every crease that I can find. Wondering why I'm using eyelid purple? It's because eyelid purple is a chameleon color, I consider it to be. It will take on the life of what other of the next color that follows it or that goes before it. And that's what I've experienced. And it can also stand alone pretty good too. But I like to use it as a color that helps to bring more enhancement to the previous color or to the color that comes after it. think that's the guy's cutting hourglass. No wonder it's so close. Okay, so I'll go into voiceover at this point. I always get so anxious whenever I am doing the lips because to me, this is what really brings the kit to life. And another reason why I actually go in with so many layers at one time, because I'm just so anxious to see the end results. But I'm always careful to make sure my layers are thin. And as I mentioned, less is definitely more, because the more layers that you add to the lips, the less realistic they look, even if you do put a glaze finish over them. And also, it starts to look like lipstick. Let's bring these hands to life. So what we're going to do is just apply the color all over the inside of the hand. We're going to make sure to get in between the fingers and on the side of the fingers and the nail bed. And I know that we're going to be using the Eborn nail pigments or powders for the nail bed, but I want to bring in my blush color because I just love it. And I also found this color on Irresistables and their lineup of heat set paints. And what I'll do is I'll add that color in the description box so that if you don't have to create this color, then okay. But if you already have the crimson, the Genesis crimson and the Genesis eyelid purple, then why not use that? You know, as they say, waste not, want not, right? So you could definitely just do half and half to create this color. Or if you don't already have it, then why not go ahead and pick it up from Irresistibles? Be sure to pounce this color off of the hand because you don't want it to build up. And you also don't want what, naturally occurs whenever you are painting. And that is just like clumps or anything that you may not see in your paints with the naked eye, but after it's baked, it's there because anything you put into that oven is exactly how it's going to come out. So you want to make sure that you blend and that you pounce the color out really, really well, getting into the lines and in between the fingers as well. We are applying one layer of mottling onto the limbs, and after each layer we are going to pounce so that we don't leave a stamp imprint, but we just want to leave a slight subtle touch of texture. And after every layer or application, you want to be sure that you bake into the oven on 265 for at least 9 minutes. When adding blush to the feet, you want to be sure that you add color to the points that would come in contact with the floor. So you really want to pay attention. In the first layer of application, you're going to really do the entirety of the foot. But as you progress and as you begin to bring more of the blush color forward by adding extra layers, you really want to be sure that you touch those points that would come in contact with the floor. So like the very high points of the toes, the very high point of the top of the foot, and the heel, of course. But right now we're just building that color up. Let's continue to build on the shading of this kit. So we have done our one layer of mottling, and now we are just going to go into the shaded areas and continue to work on it until we feel as though this is right. I wish I could explain it to you, but there's this quote, I can't remember who it's by, but it's like, art is never finished, just abandoned. So whenever you are looking at a kit, you pretty much know, unless you're using an inspiration, and for me, I'm using the baby that I did previously of this same kit. And if you were using a real baby, you would kind of follow, you would really follow the direction of the shading in the areas of that particular baby. So be sure that you are doing your best to really present, if you will, the likeness of that image onto the kit. And if that means doing a few layers at a time, then do that. And this purple really does bring about the darkness of the shading without having to add many more dark colors. Therefore, 2 shades of purple would do what maybe 4 or 5 shades of brown would do for you. Cutting down on the work and also bringing less paint to the canvas. And the more that we can do with less paint, the better. That's always what we're hoping to achieve whenever we are painting. The less layers, the better. The more realistic it will appear. And now I'm just adding blush onto the nose and around the nose to really bring some more blood flow to the center of the face, creating a focal point and another area, therefore creating more depth by creating an illusion, if you will. Rooting used to be my favorite part of the process, but I really think now that doing the lips, I've become more confident in doing lips, and that's the part of the kit that really looks like skin to me whenever I'm done with it. So I am going back into our crimson and eyelid purple mixture and just adding a few more thin layers onto the kit, and always keeping in mind that I want this to be thin, I want this to be realistic, and I want to be sure that I am putting color where color would naturally appear if this were a real baby. And also, in using this color with this skin tone, this would truly be the color of the lips if it were a real baby. And I did this, and I know this by actually trying it on myself because I'm about the complexion of this kit. And I don't know if you guys know about doing the whole blush test by squeezing your fingertips and then seeing what color comes to the surface. So that's what I did, and that's how I eventually got to this crimson and eyelid purple, because I didn't have it in my stash, but I knew I needed to create it. So that's how I stumbled across this particular color. And I really love how it just emulates real blood flow and what real skin would look like if it were this complexion. So we're going to continue building this color up. I'm not baking anything in between. Of course, it's just sped up on my end, but I am just applying this color in places until I feel as though all the color is settled in the right areas. But I'm going to continue to work the color in the inside of the mouth and around the outside of the lips until I'm just satisfied. And now I'm bringing in some of my pinkish color to bring in some more pink areas of the lips, because you want to have some nuances in the color. You don't want it to be one color because then it would be flat, therefore less realistic. So in bringing in different colors, even this magenta color, I am popping in color in different places to enhance what I've already put down with that eyelid purple and crimson mixture. And no, the color doesn't necessarily move if anything, these colors blend well together in the process of laying it down. So I am not undoing any work, and it all just seems to come together. And if in fact I ever run into a case where I'm not liking it, all I'll do is I'll take some Gamsol, wipe it off, bake it, then start all over again until I am happy. So there is no wrong way to go unless you bake it. Then that's a different story. You have to pull out some acetone then. But I try my best to just use what I know and not try and reinvent the wheel if I don't have to. So continuing to add blood flow, and this is really enhancing the shading as well as bringing blood flow into the ear area. I'm careful not to get this color over the entirety of the ear, but I am just placing it in random places just to put color here and there so that I can create another illusion that there is some blood flowing and that it's not flat. And I've done that with the shading where I've gone in darker in the canal and the very top of the ear cartilage and even in the crevice of the ear. But I still want to bring in more colors so that I can create, again, more nuances. And the way to do that is just by placing the color in random places. If you remember what I said about eyelid purple, it being like a chameleon color or a color of enhancement, so I ran out of my dioxazine purple. Yes, I was being lazy. And so I went to my eyelid purple, and I'm gonna apply that in this shaded area because I felt like I was losing a little bit of dimension on the forehead. So I'm not gonna take this over the entirety of the scalp, but I really want to make sure around the hairline and on the forehead a little bit that I get a darker or a deeper color here. And I'm doing that with this eyelid purple so that I don't have to bring out another darker color. And again, I don't have to mix any more purple. It's in the purple family, so it's still going to do what I needed to do. So in applying it here, I am just bringing in more shading so that I can create the realism that I really want to capture in this baby. So now that our limbs are cool, we're gonna go ahead and begin to bring in some of that blood flow closer to the surface and in the more prominent or high points of the hands. And that's around the fingertips, the top of the fingertips, and even some places within the palm itself. So you really wanna focus on the very top of it and just work your way down. You don't want to have the entirety of the finger a dark red color, but you want to really start at the very tip of the finger as I was showing you, and then work it down into the palm. And then you'll go back into the palm and also add more blush in those areas as well. Just be sure at this point you are really concentrating on the very tip of the fingers and in random places within the palm. Do not do the entirety of the finger. And if you can see the little divots that are inside the hand, like right underneath the base of the fingers, you want to be sure that you put color in those areas as well to create some dimension with the deepness that is occurring with the little indentions in the fingers, or the hand rather. All right, guys, so we're going to jump right into doing the nails. And the very first video I mentioned to you about purchasing this kit from McPherson's, or you could have purchased it from Eborns website. And also, just to remind you, she actually has a tutorial of applying these 3 colors onto a nail bed. So I'm going to be sure to link her tutorial up in the cards and also in the description. So if you're unable to click on the cards in the video because you're watching on a television, you'll still be able to see the tutorial and be able to learn from her as far as the application from the moons to the nail beds and the tips. I am truly just concentrating on the tips of the nails. And I'm actually going to use some of the nail bed color as well because I wanted to enhance that reddish color of blood flow that I'd already applied to the nail bed. Okay guys, so here are my nails using the pigments. I only used the nail tip and the nail bed. I did not do the moons on my baby, but you can see the colors here, and I really love the nail tips. I'll be sure to link her tutorial onto the cards and in the description. And then I'm going to come back later and seal the nails. I just wanted you to see how the nails look using these powders. So now what we're going to do is add some blush to the palm, to the soles of the foot. So I have gone in with the purple and the crimson, a few layers, just to create some depth, to go back over the features a little bit more. And so now it's time to blush the very high points of the toes. So I'm just gonna go into this crimson area and just add some blush right up in here. And I'll just continue that process until I'm satisfied. And I don't necessarily suggest how many layers you should actually do, because I want you to lean into your own creativity when it comes to, I mean, really the entirety of the kit, but more so when it comes to the blushing. When I first started, I used to have like red, like dark red feet, but that's not realistic, right? So I want you to be sure that you are leaning into your own creativity and what you prefer. So I don't want to give you any type of numbers or of application to use for blushing your feet or even your hands. So this will be the last thing that I do before I actually go in and seal my kit in its entirety with my preferred varnish of choice, and that is Gemini Matte Varnish from Bountiful Baby. But guys, we have reached the very end of our time together for this series. It's been a long one, but it has been so fulfilling. I truly hope that you have some major takeaways from this series, and please feel free to share your challenges, share your success, share whatever your heart desires below. Be sure to like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and guys, be blessed, take care, and bye for now, but I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.